viewers, time for another video. This time I'm going to show you some records that I bought on a recent visit to Uppsala, north of Stockholm. Those of you who have seen these videos before know that I go there now and then. And well, I love Uppsala. It's a wonderful city and town. Well, city more like. It's fairly big. But also they have some really nice record stores there. And I visited two stores today. This time. It was a week ago since I went there. So I've been able to listen through all the albums that I bought back there. So thought, well, why not make a little video about them now? Also, if my voice sounds a bit different, it's because I have all this new little microphone here that I'm testing for this video. I hope it'll sound fairly okay. Yeah. Anyway, first of all, I found an album that I've been looking for quite a while. Well, quite a while. It's not really that rare, but I haven't found it for good price in good condition until now. And it's the first album of the Swedish singer and songwriter Peter Lundblad. And it's called Öga för öga, and it's on the Harvest label, which you may think, well, okay, is it progressive? No, not really. He's a singer-songwriter. This is his first album, and I think he's in his early 20s here. And mostly was for the first track called Lika blå som dina ögon, As Blue as Your Eyes, because I've heard that many times and I've been very fond of it. It's a real good debut because, mostly because it's got really good arrangements. So it's very well recorded. It's led by the great arranger and producer Anders Henriksson. And when we view the musicians here, we have lots of future ABBA musicians like Ola Brunkert, and well, we also have Göran Lagerberg from Kebnekaise playing the bass, Mike Watson, who was also ABBA musician on the bass too on some tracks. Yeah, loads of great musicians. The studio elite, as so to speak. It's from 1973. Peter Lundblad had a bit of an uneven career. He had some really big hits. Lika blå som dina ögon was one of them. Although today the song is mostly remembered by his the 1986 hit Ta mig till havet, Take Me to the Ocean. That's been like a sing-along classic nowadays. Peter Lundblad passed away some years ago, a bit too early, but I think he's a very good singer-songwriter, although his biggest hits are a bit overplayed, so to speak, at least here in Swedish radio. But if you're into Swedish singer and songwriters, he's definitely worth checking up, and this is a very solid debut. Öga för öga, Eye to Eye, by Peter Lundblad. Right.
Om jag låter pessimistisk, så tro för all del ej att jag vill se dig ledsen. Det gäller lika mycket mig.
Over to something very different. We talk about Yuko Nagisa. Who's that? Well, she's a Japanese singer. I needed some, to be quite honest, I needed some help from the internet to be able to find out what this album was actually called. Thank you, Discogs. It's called Recital, and it's a live show where she sings some of these what do you call it? I don't remember, but it's a certain name for this Japanese pop music. It's on the Toshiba label, and it's in a lovely deep red vinyl. I'm starting to get more and more fond of Japanese pop, especially when it's sung by female singers. Sorry, because I know it's something with the harmonies that really fit into the Swedish air, the sense for a bit melancholic, lots of minor key songs, just as well as like many Swedish artists and Swedish groups and Swedish records have become very popular in Japan. It really should be the opposite as well, because there's so much good Japanese pop music to discover, and you rarely find it here in Sweden, of all places, quite far away. But this is a great album, Yuko Nagisa Recital from 1971, and I'll be looking for more Japanese material in the future. Okay. Over to another country, not as far away as Japan, but Finland. Tasavallan Presidenti, 1973. This is issue on the lovely label Svart Records from 2016. It's in, I think is it blue vinyl? Yeah, blue vinyl. It's a radio recording by Finnish radio from September 12th, 1973, with 2 tracks, Lennosta Key. Sorry about the pronunciation there. And Dance, composition by Jukka Tulunen on the other side. And I've been a fan of Tasavallan Presidenti the last maybe 5 years or so, when I've been exploring their records, much thanks to these lovely reissues by Svart Records that are very well done, very good pressings, and very good transfers and everything. So the originals can be a bit expensive to get hold of today, but these are really good. Alright, live at Liisankatu Studios, Helsinki, Finland. Right. Okay, I always like to check the boxes with like music both from South America, Asia, and also from other parts of Europe than England and, well, Sweden then. And often I check the French and the Italian, sometimes even the German boxes of records, if there is such a thing. And I found this LP, Catherine Le Forestier, Le Pays de ton Côte. Pardon my French, it's horrible. I don't know what I'm saying. But it's a really good album from 1971. Good singer, good songs, and a quirkiness that I really like. Catherine Le Forestier, I don't know that much about her, but definitely a good singer, well worth checking out. Then we have an album with René Claude and Levi Emard Blues Band. Again, sorry. Ce soir, je fais l'amour avec toi. That sounds very romantic. I wonder what it means. René Claude, French singer, Canadian singer. Canadian-French singer. This album is on the Barclay French label. And since my French is really crap, I don't really know what she's singing about, but it seems to be lots of love. Nice, pleasant pop music in the chanson genre, and nice finding. It wasn't that expensive either. then I have to show you something I really almost fell in love with. And we talk about the Italian singer Rita Pavone. And I've heard about her before. Not really sure if I've heard her singing, but I've heard about her. I've heard that name before. But I found an album, I think it's from the mid-60s. Ci vuole poco. Again, pardon my Italian. It's a very interesting mix here because we have really some real rock tracks like Give Me Some Lovin', the Spencer Davis Group song. And we have the theme from Dr. Zhivago. And what do we more have here? It's a nice mixture between sweet, simple pop and some rock numbers where she's almost as rocky as Wanda Jackson, and she has this lovely confidence in her voice. It's not the most beautiful voice, but she's like, yeah, I'm here, listen to me. Natural charm in her voice, and I haven't heard that many recordings by her before, or I haven't heard any recordings by her before. I'm quite sure of that because I think I would remember. So, but this was a very nice finding, and it's on the RCA Italiana label, and I will definitely look for more of Rita Pavone's albums. Lovely Italian pop with a great singer, and of course, all of you in Italy, you already know her. I guess she's a bit of a living legend there, because when I then checked her on YouTube and on the internet to read about her, well, she's been around for a long time, and it seems like she's still active. So yeah, you should be proud of this girl. She's great. Right, every time I go to Uppsala, I try to get something with a Uppsala connection. And I did that this time as well, because I went to the store Open Mind Records, and they have their own record label called Open Mind. And they issue albums now and then. And this is an album by a Swedish prog band called Klotet. Uppsala band called Klotet. And this album is called Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Uppsala. And the recordings on this album were issued originally, I think, on cassette and CD-ROM or CDR, recordable CD, in 2012. But now Open Mind Records decided to issue it on vinyl, and very good decision. Great progressive rock, a bit on the experimental side, but it doesn't really become too experimental. They stay on the listenable level, and yeah, very nice. I think it's quite fun that the Open Mind Records are issuing local stars. It's good for the Uppsala, the culture life in Uppsala. And I'm not saying this because I hope that Open Mind Records will see this and sponsor me with more of their issues. No, but I've heard maybe a handful different Open Mind Records issues, and of course I pick those who I find maybe interesting to me, and still I haven't really been disappointed in any way. And it's a great stuff. They're very friendly. Speaking about record stores with a record label, Rainbow Music in Solna. They still exist as a record store. When I was new in Stockholm, I often went there to the owner, Fredrik Hallberg. And he also had a record label for many years called Rainbow Music in the 80s and early 90s that issued lots of old Swedish 60s scarce rare material on vinyl, and those albums are starting to become collectible in their own right now, because of course they weren't issued in that big editions. I mean, I don't know how many were sold back then, but I would imagine that not too many, because it is a bit of a it's not for everyone, let's say that, but for those who are very interested in Swedish 1960s beat music, there are lots of issues on that label to find. And this is an issue that belonged to the radio station Radio Sörmland once upon a time, and it's called Swedish Beat Volume 1 from 1980. Is it from 1990? And it's a compilation with some rare tracks by Swedish 60s bands like the Girls Boys, Highballs, the Shake Makers, the DJs, Outsiders, Sooner or Later, Steam Packet 2 with Mikael Ramel, T-Bones, the Flippers, Zeros Incorporated, Guy and the Turks, the Wizards, the Shakers. Some of these bands more famous than others, but most of these tracks are quite difficult to find, especially on the original vinyl singles. So glad to find that. Yeah, speaking about rare. Back in 1973. No? Well, in the mid-70s, Canadian, I think it's Canadian, singer and songwriter called Philip Levin decided to sponsor, it's 1975, Philip Levin decided to, record a record, vinyl album on his own, where he sings and he plays rhythm guitar, solo guitar, and also some piano on some track. And the album is called Am I Really Here All Alone? And it was originally rather pressed in, I think, 300 copies, and just to sell among friends and neighbors and so on. And yeah, and of course, nothing more to say about that, apart from the fact that the record became quite sought after and liked by many who like, simple acoustic songwriting, not that much instrumentation, very accessible songs about being alone. Loneliness is a good theme for songs about broken hearts and so on. Today that record is of course very scarce and very difficult to get hold of, but a couple of years ago, a company called Tompkins Square decided to make a reissue of this album, and that's what I have here. Philip Levin, Am I Really All Alone? I found it was rare. It was rare. It was rather cheaper than you usually would find this. So I thought, why not? This seems very interesting, because I hadn't heard about it. All the stuff that I'm telling you, I found out after checking him up on internet after I got back home, and it's very nice. It's simple. It's not hi-fi in any sense. It's recorded on quite cheap equipment with overlays, vocals, rhythm guitar, some solo guitar overlays, and a couple of tracks where it sings to piano accompaniment. And so it's really, it has this homemade feeling, and that's very lovely. Especially since the songs are quite good and the performance as well, even if the sound is so and so. But I mean, that's like part of the deal when we talk about these homemade albums. So glad I found this. I'm very good that Tompkins Square decided to reissue it. I think they reissued like 1,000 copies, so I guess this reissue is quite rare as well nowadays. Okay, I'm waffling really. Oh, I've been speaking now for 20 minutes. Hurry up. I'm a great fan of the 3 Degrees. I think many of you who may follow these videos know that. I managed to find this album So Much Love on the Roulette label. And when I saw it, I thought, okay, maybe it's their second album, because I remember that they made the first album on Roulette. I haven't found that yet. I don't know, I don't remember the title now. So I thought, okay, maybe they made 2 albums on Roulette. And this is from maybe 70 or 71. But when I got home, I checked it closer. It's from 1975, when they were on Philadelphia International. But of course, they had their big breakthrough then. They became famous, and hence, of course, Roulette decided to, well, release another 3 Degrees albums with material that they had before. So it's a bit of a cash-in, of course. So I think the recordings are from 1970, but it's a very good cash-in because it's a great album. It's great arrangements, great songs, and they sing with the passion that you know that you can expect from the 3 Degrees. So even if maybe the 3 Degrees didn't earn as much from this album, our ears are earning quite a lot when we listen to it. So Much Love, the 3 Degrees, on Roulette from 1975.
Good people turning bad. Some don't, but they are few.
Okay. Little Richard, his biggest hits, top-loaded album from. I think this was originally issued on the Specialty Records in 1960. But this is a Swedish issue on Sonnet, and I think it's from 1965 or there around. And it's a fun issue in great condition. Nothing more really to say. We have the quite popular, famous tracks like Rip It Up, Lucille, Good Golly Miss Molly, Long Tall Sally, Slippin' and Slidin', True Fine Mama, Tutti Frutti, and so on. The Specialty recordings. But this is an issue that I've never seen before, so I thought I would get it, and I did. And I The Sweet Inspirations, What the World Needs Now Is Love. There are 4 here, so it's before Sissy Houston left the band. It's from 1968 on Atlantic, and we have at least 2 songs by Burt Bacharach. The album starts with 2 Burt Bacharach songs, Alfie and What the World Needs Now Is Love. Then To Love Somebody by the Gibb Brothers. So many famous songs, Unchained Melody, and some originals by Sissy Houston, like You Really Didn't Mean It, Where Did It Go, I Could Leave You Alone. Oh, I shouldn't sit here. Well, anyway, great album, not in the best condition, but I'll keep it until I find a better copy. I mean, it's well worth looking out for.
It's in my brain. I see your face again. You don't have to be so blind.
Early in the 1990s, I had a neighbor, and he tried to, well, educate me in the world of pop and rock by introducing me to, like, the band, for instance. It took some time. I was in my late teens then, so I wasn't really into the mood for that kind of music back then. But now in later years, I've started to actually look for the albums that he borrowed me back then to listen to and to be inspired by. And one of the groups that were included on those albums was the sensational Alex Harvey Band. And I managed to find a compilation called Vambo Rules, Big Hits and Close Shaves. It's from 1976, I think. And we have like the recordings of Delilah, Cheek to Cheek, and also, well, big hit Midnight Moses. The sleeve looks a bit tattered, but the record plays fine, and you tend to get really in a good mood when you listen to Alex Harvey. He was a great artist and the kind of singer who knew how to get the audience in a good mood. Yeah, I'm getting more and more fond of Alex Harvey. I haven't got that many records. I got this one, and I got the sensational Alex Harvey band Stories, I think it's called that. But I'm looking for more of those albums. They're not too common here, but when they turn up, they are not that incredibly expensive either. Those are all the albums I found at Open Mind. I went to another store. I really hate to say that I can't remember the name of it now, but it's quite close to the train station. And I bought 3 albums there. One with the Swedish duo Gin and Grappo. Gin, that was future author Janne Goldman. Grappo was 2 different people because they made 2 albums. And Grappo had changed name on these 2 albums, so I guess it wasn't the same guy who changed name and looks, but it was a different member. Like Bo Grappo Johansson was the Grappo on this album, but we have this album is signed by Janne Goldman and by Lasse something. I can't remember his last name, but he was the second Grappo. This is from 1973. On the G production label, Grammoplast. And it's like quite sweet Swedish singer-songwriter stuff. And very pleasant. Not incredibly fantastic in any way, but definitely worth listening to now and then. Okay, over to another group that I have to admit I didn't know they existed, although I knew about the leader. I'm talking about Daryl Way's Wolf and this album Saturation Point. Well, Daryl Way, I know of him from the Curved Air because they are a group that I listen quite a lot to. I love that group and I love Daryl Way's fiddling. And this is his own project. I think they made 2 albums. This is the second anyway, and it's on the Deram label. It's mixing progressive rock and classical music in a very pleasant way. Daryl Way, he's a bit of the UK prog Paganini in his very intense violin playing, and very lovely. I have to look for the other album as well. Daryl Way's Wolf, Saturation Point. But I have to say, I didn't know that he had his own group. I didn't know about this group, even though I'm a great fan of Curved Air. Final record. I've been talking for almost half an hour. Those of you who have been staying up until now, well done, well done. And this is probably the record that I was most happy to find, because it's an album that I've been looking for actively for quite a long time, and it's not that easy to get hold of. I'm talking about the Swedish punk group Traste och Superstararna, led by Traste Lindén, who would later form the one of the favorite groups of my youth, Traste Lindéns Quintet, where they played a sort of folk country pop, but with a bit of a punk attitude anyway. This is punk, but with a friendly, jolly, humorous attitude. And you see, if you notice, when they wanted to make the album sleeve, this is their only album as far as I know, they decided to make some sort of homage to many other of their favorite albums. I think you can see one member doing Clash here. Here we got Elvis Costello, this year's model, Cheek Jerbuti, Frank Zappa, Young Americans, David Bowie, Blondes Have More Fun, Rod Stewart, and this is probably their own, but it can also refer to Peps Blodsband's album Spår from 1978. I'm not sure if that's intentional, but it might be. So this is played with lots of energy and lots of fun, and it's a kind of punk music that you get happy from listening to, not that you get angry from. But I really feel like singing the chorus of their, well, hit. Maybe that's saying too much, but from the big single, their first single, the most famous song, Pengar. Och du din jävla sopa. Yeah. And they have a homage to the Bulgarian alpine skier Peter Popangelov, who was getting famous in Swedish television because Swedish television were broadcasting all the alpine races with the great star Ingmar Stenmark then, and many of the others who competed against him became popular as well. So yeah, lots of interesting tracks on this album. Not that easy to get hold of, but I did find it now in Uppsala. Very happy about that. I think that's all for now. Thank you and goodbye.